and welcome to today's class. So today we're going to look at the equation of a circle. But before we go into that, we need to do a little revision on completing the square method of solving quadratic equations. Okay, so we have an example here where you are going to see why we need to do this revision in order to proceed to the equation of a circle. Okay, so we have a problem here. So we say solve the quadratic equation by method of completing the square. 1a x squared plus 6x plus 2 equals 0. Okay, now so let's start solving. Let's solve using completing the square method. Solution. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite the equation x squared plus 6x plus 2 equals 0. Okay, so the first thing we do here, since the coefficient of x squared is 1, so we don't have much problem. So we're not going to do any division. So the first thing we're going to do here is adding the square or half of the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x here is plus 6. So we're going to add the square of it to the left-hand side and to the right-hand side. But before we do that, let's quickly move this constant to the right-hand side. So that is to say, we're going to have x squared plus 6x is equals minus 2. When plus 2 crosses over to the right-hand side rather, it changes to minus 2. Okay, so now we have this. The coefficient of x here is plus 6, and that is what we're going to add. We're going to divide it by 2 and square the answer and add the answer to both the left-hand side and the right-hand side. Okay, so this is what I do. What I will do. X squared plus 6x plus bracket of 6 divided by 2 square is equal to minus 2 plus, I'll do the same thing I did here, 6 divided by 2 all squared. So I have done, in mathematics, this is an equation. So whatever thing I do to the left-hand side, I have to also do it to the right-hand side, so that at any point in time, the equations will be balanced. Okay, so here we have this. I have that this is x squared plus 6x. When 6 divided by 2 is 3. Then I have 3 squared. Okay, is equal to minus 2 plus 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. So I can actually change this one to 9, but I need this one to remain like this. So this is a perfect square now. So that is the essence of undergoing this process, is to make this left-hand side a perfect square. So once it is a perfect square, what I'm going to do is I'll open a bracket. I'll put this x inside the bracket plus the sign that the coefficient of x has, which is plus, is what I'm going to have here. Then I'll put this 3 inside the bracket, close the bracket, and then square everything inside the bracket. And that gives me minus 2 plus 9. Okay? So if you open this bracket, if you multiply this out, you are going to get back this. So this is a perfect square, and this is how to factorize it now. Assuming I have minus here, don't worry, you're going to see it in the second question. Okay, so and I have this. So that is to say that x plus 3 all squared is equals to minus 2 plus 9 will give me 7. I'll have 7. Okay, so in that case, I'll now have that bracket x. What I'm going to do next is to square root each side, to square root both sides. So square root both sides. And when you square root a square, the square will clear. When you square root a square, the square will clear. So I now have this plus or minus square root of 7. When you square root a square, the square root will cancel with the square. Okay, so that is why this is not carrying square again. So in that case, I can clean this bracket. Okay, so remember we're looking for x. So this implies that x is equals to, when 3 crosses over here, it becomes minus 3. Then plus or minus square root of 7. Anytime you are finding the square root of any number, it is advisable to put plus or minus. Okay, especially in quadratic equation where we're going to obtain 2 values for the unknown. In this case, x. Okay, so that means that it implies that x1, the first value of x is minus 3. We use the minus sign here, root 7. Then the second value, x2, is minus 3. Then you use the second sign, which is plus 7. So I'm leaving the answer this way. Okay, so if I put the answer in the bracket, I have x1, x2. x1, x2 to be equals to minus 3 minus root 7, comma, minus 3 plus root 7. Okay, so this is the answer. I've gotten our answer. Okay, so I believe you're able to understand the process. You can see how simple it is to solve a quadratic equation using the completing the square method. Very simple. Okay, the next, if you're able to understand